Hey guys, I'm sure it's been a while, but I keep telling you that time doesn't really mean much out here. Let's pick up where we left off, because a lot has happened since I last talked to you. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I've made some pretty big discoveries. So after spending the night reading the Hermit's Journal, I woke up the next day feeling strange. I know that probably sounds a little weird, since I'm walking around a strange place that exists inside a Dollar General, but it was a feeling in the pit of my stomach. It just wouldn't go away. It felt like I had the beginnings of a stomach flu, but it wasn't altogether unpleasant. I'm gonna get a little personal here. Do you know how sometimes you have to poop, but you don't because it feels kind of good? Yeah, maybe you don't, but it felt like that. Strange still, the feeling in my gut seemed to be acting like a compass. As I put my backpack on and started walking out of the cave, I could feel it pulling me towards a large grove of mushrooms. I have been sort of wandering aimlessly, not really going in any particular direction, but this feeling felt directed. I had no real destination in mind, no direct path that I'd been taking, so I decided to follow it. What's the worst that could happen, right? I stopped to get a drink from a nearby stream and found that the water wasn't as brackish as it had been in the area that I left. It didn't taste good, it still smelled and was kind of soupy, but it didn't make my stomach hurt or give me the sulfur burps. It didn't make the feeling in my gut go away either, so I figured it might not be relevant to what I'd been eating or drinking. Maybe there were different biomes out here, and if I traveled far enough, maybe I'd find a different one. Maybe I'd find one with pork chop bushes and steak trees too, because I'm getting pretty tired of eating roasted mushrooms for every meal. As I moved into the forest, I looked up and saw that there was a particularly bad bout of fire raining down to the south of me. I may have forgot to mention that up until now. The yellow sky is sometimes broken by these intense rains of fire. I don't know what they are, I don't know what they do, but they just come down sometimes. Some days are heavier than others, and some days you never see them at all, but they scared me enough on the first day that I always look out for them now. They haven't affected me, and none of them have fallen to earth close enough that I can get a look at them, but I still keep my head on a swivel, just in case they're dangerous. The one today was close enough that I thought I might be able to see shapes in them. I had expected to see rocks or chunks of ice or something, but whatever was inside of them looked like splayed-out starfish. Worse still, they looked a little bit like people, with their arms and legs extended out as far as they could go. I tried to ignore it as I went deeper into the mushroom forest. I've been mostly seeing lush forest growth in the places I've come from, but I was encountering some stumps here, which led me to believe someone besides me might be cutting them down. That could mean that there were other people out here, but it could just as easily mean that there were creatures out here that also harvested the fungus. I didn't really want to run up on any natives, friendly or not. I had yet to meet anything out here that hadn't tried to take a chomp out of me, other than Kenneth, I suppose. I'd say Kenneth's chomping days were far behind him when I found him. I kept my makeshift weapon at a ready, and my head on a swivel as I followed the feeling in my gut. I had only had it for the day, but I think I had become accustomed to using it like a compass already. It just seemed the right thing to do, and as the sun began to set and I started making camp, I realized it wasn't going to go away just because I stopped for the night. Eating didn't seem to affect it, drinking either, and as I lay down to go to sleep, I wished it would take a break until morning. Laying there and trying to sleep was like having a pot full of eels in my stomach. They kept wriggling and pushing, trying to get me to move on, but I knew well enough that traveling at night was a death sentence. Every time when the lights went out in the store was when the miasma came out. Likewise, when it was dark out here, you could hear big things moving around, and it was best to hunker down and try not to be noticed. As I moved on the next day, the pulling of whatever it was in my stomach became even worse. It was less like a nudge and more like an invisible hand yanking at my intestines. The direction was even more direct now, and it was undeniable that I was being pulled towards a large mountain on the other side of the grove. It was impossible not to notice The thing was gigantic, with its spires poking up into the sky. The closer I got, the more of those fiery comets I could see smashing into the side of the gargantuan mountain. I really hoped I wasn't going to be expected to climb it. The idea of climbing something that big with no ropes or gear was daunting, and I thought I might rather just let one of the miasmas grab me tonight than try to scale that thing. That night, as I lay beneath the large red mushroom cap that I'd been using as a tent, one of them almost got its chance. My fire was burning low, the flames greasy as they sent runners of pale smoke up. I was just starting to doze off when I heard something big shake the ground as it walked. I threw the mushroom cap over the top of the fire, hoping it would snuff it out, and then hunkered beneath it as I tried to remain unnoticed. When I peeked out from beneath the cap, I felt the vibrations of the massive creature as it came stomping blindly through the mushroom forest. I couldn't see it was too dark, but I could guess what it was. Miasma were the largest creatures I'd ever seen, and the fact that they only came out after dark seemed to seal the idea that this was one of them. They got closer and closer, leaving me shivering beneath my makeshift cover. I knew that if it brought the foot down, I'd be pulverized underneath this thing, and I prayed that it might divert its path or miss me entirely. It brought one massive foot down on the remains of my campfire, before wandering off into the forest. I looked up in time to see a massive black silhouette as it was put in profile by the strange half-moon that seemed to constantly reside over this place. It never looked down, and if my fire had been hot or bothered it, it never showed any sign. It simply kept going, knocking the tops of the mushroom trees as it went, and leaving me glad that I had been unnoticed. I wouldn't sleep for the rest of that night, and when I got up in the morning, the pulling in my guts was more intense. That day was agony. It was like something was twisting my insides as it tried to get me to move faster. The pulling was insistent and needful, and it seemed like it was telling me to hurry up with every cramping grip. Where were we going? Why did we suddenly need to go there so quickly? I would get no answer for the rest of the day, and as the sun set, I figured I wouldn't get any until the next day either. Just about sunset, though, we came out of the mushroom woods and into a small clearing at the base of the mountain. The mountain was huge, as I'd said, and at the bottom there was a large cave that yawned like an open mouth. The teeth inside looked less than friendly, and the whole thing looked like a trap for the foolish. The squirming in my guts was clearly trying to get me into there, but as I took a step towards it, something yowled like an injured creature deep within the forest behind me. I turned around and saw the top of a miasma, probably the same one I had seen last night. It had spotted me from over the top of the mushroom groves, and as I made a sprint for the cave, I wondered if I would make it before it cleared the woods. Its footsteps shook the earth, and it yowled as it sent chills up my spine. With every step I took, I felt sure I would make it there before it could get me. The cave was less than 50 feet away when I had exited the woods, but the creature was eating up ground with such haste that it became a full-fledged foot race to see who could get to the cave first. It was the most harrowing experience of my life, but since you're reading this, you can guess which one of us got there first. It was a near thing, too, and I had no sooner passed under the teeth of that great mouth than the creature hit the outside of the cavern and sent a cascade of falling rocks that would have crushed me if I'd been a little slower. I could hear it outside, yelling and screaming as it tried to get the rocks out of the way for its dinner, but it had done its job too well. I was safe, but my escape was less than ideal. I had escaped the monster, but now I was trapped inside the cave. Strangely, the writhing in my guts seemed to be pulling me deeper into the cave. I took this as a good sign and followed it in. The cave was old and smooth, the walls looking like they might have been worked with tools. There were collections of fungi growing here, and thankfully they were phosphorescent. They provided enough light to see by, and as I made my way in, I felt a strange kind of harmony inside me as I got closer to whatever the squirming feeling had been trying to take me to. When I saw the end of the cave coming into view, it wasn't a huge surprise. It was just like the others, a blank wall that appeared to be solid rock, but as I rubbed a piece of my grubby t-shirt over it, I could see that it was really just filthy glass. There was a Dollar General on the other side of the glass, and as I watched, I saw somebody. I was almost too shocked to call out to them. This had only happened the other time, and both times had been wildly different. The person I was looking at appeared to be a woman, and she looked a little too well put together to be as crazy as the hermit had been. Strangely enough, her uniform reminded me of Gale. It was the older style the stores had used back in the 90s, and she looked put together for a shift in the early 2000s. As she moved off towards the restroom, I realized I was about to miss my opportunity altogether. She jumped when I banged on the glass, and as I called out and asked her for help, she seemed very hesitant to approach. She had dropped the cans of food that she had been looking at and was coming up to the door as if expecting it to pop open and eat her. She squinted at me, and I wondered how long it had been since she'd seen another person. "You okay, kid?" I told her I was as good as I could be, but I was stuck behind the door and needed help getting in. "I don't know how to help you. I've only ever seen those doors open once, and I can't really say how well it worked for that guy, since, he never came back and all." I told her it was my first time out here too, and she had opened her mouth to ask a question when my eyes suddenly swam open in horror. When the creature hit me, its claws shredded my back like steak knives. I thought for sure that I was dead when I hit the floor. It was another one of those nightmare cats I had seen earlier, though this one looked smaller than the one that had attacked me before. Whether it was a pup or a cub or whatever it was, it would easily be able to finish me off. I was tired from my run, exhausted from my lack of sleep, and I could no more fight it off with my bare hands than I could have a grizzly bear. I expected that this would be where I would die, but at least I had seen someone else before the end. I had wanted it to be Gale, but I suppose beggars couldn't be choosers. The beast yowled savagely, opening its mouth to reveal a bunch of very sharp, very shiny teeth, and I closed my eyes as I prepared for the end. That's when the door suddenly opened, and the creature looked up just in time to get a face full of a wrench. The woman grabbed me under the arm and dragged me back into the Dollar General beyond, and my foot had barely cleared the sliding doors when they snapped shut again with amputative force. I looked at her in confusion, seeing her upside down as I tilted my head, and I thanked her profusely as I had probably gotten blood all over her. "Well, I couldn't just let you die, could I? You're the first person I've seen in quite a while, and I think company is just what I could use right now." "I can understand that," I said with a laugh. I extended my hand, introducing myself as I tried not to pass out from the painful wound on my back. Apparently, coming into the front door did not have the same effect as going into the bathroom, and that's why I had to get her to repeat her name when she told me who she was. I thought for sure that I might be hallucinating, or maybe dreaming, but it appeared this place likes to throw one curveball after another. "I'm Celine," she said, a little more slowly. "Now, let's get you through that bathroom door over there. I know this is going to come as a bit of a shock, but it will take you to a different Dollar General store and sort of put you back to the way you were before. This may be hard to swallow until you see it for yourself, but you're trapped in an infinite loop of Dollar General stores." I laughed, leaning against her as I threatened to pass out. Celine, it's really not that hard to believe at all." You're still here. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's spooky tale. If you'd like a little bit more spooky in your life, why not click on one of the videos that appears at the end of our story, or maybe head on over to one of our playlists where you can get your fill of spooky content. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, I've got a new book that's come out. If you'd like your own copy, there's a link below in the description where you can get your own copy of my spooky book. If you like what you see here on the channel and think you might like to support in a more monetized way, then why not come over to Patreon or become a member on YouTube? Speaking of, let's go ahead and thank our members now. Thanks to Civ Garstad and Unicorn Hollow for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Janet, Lee Kendall, Saikat, Ronda J, Sue Casper, and Valinator for being our spooky skeleton tier contributors. And thanks to Hi Stacy, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Cinnamon Fox, Sarah ASMR42, Grim Reaper, and TomBoiTopUwU for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. And a special thanks to Grim Reaper, who appears to have subscribed not just on YouTube, but also on my Patreon. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you, and your support is always appreciated. If you'd like to support the channel, then come on down to Patreon, or become a member on YouTube. Spooky Skeleton tier contributors, that's our $5 tier, get their spooky 12 hours early, at 8:30 a.m., as opposed to 8:30 p.m., my time, of course. And while Ghostly Reading is only a tier that's available on Patreon, you get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one on your doorstep in, hopefully, a timely manner. If you'd like a book, we have many on Amazon. I've got links below if you'd like to follow those. Should get you to my page so you can buy any one of my 8 books, I believe we're up to now. I'm sure they'd look really nice on your shelf, and I'll sign them for you if you can find me out in the wild. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.